Ahead on Q2, a silent syndrome with deadly consequences.
So there's a lot of cancer on my dad's side of the family.
Lockwood family facing a devastating genetic diagnosis and a future full of uncertainty. Plus, an unacceptable ultimatum.
The 50-day delay worries me, and that Putin would try to use the 50 days to win the war.
President Trump under fire from both sides over his controversial peace plan. The MTN 430 News starts right now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday. I'm Andrea Lutz. About 1 in 280 Americans live with a rare genetic condition called Lynch syndrome. It carries a high risk of varieties of cancers, a harsh reality one Lockwood family is now facing head on. Our Matt Carmack shares their story in tonight's Your Health Matters.
This is my son, Ethan Opp.
Tammy Von Felt from Lockwood loves her family.
It's just something I think we've all come to terms with.
She's got 3 children, and her youngest daughter's softball career takes up a lot of her time.
Get to know your family history.
But the last couple of years has brought this loving family closer than they would have ever imagined.
So this is my dad. His name is Bo Taylor, and he had colorectal cancer and esophageal cancer. And he also tested positive for Lynch syndrome.
Since 2023, Tammy, her father, and 2 of her children have all tested positive for Lynch syndrome. It's a genetic condition that highly increases one's risk of developing cancer, most commonly colorectal cancer.
So there's a lot of cancer on my dad's side of the family.
Tammy's dad, before passing away, was diagnosed with multiple types of cancer, a common trend in Tammy's family. Tammy's only 47, but has already battled both colon and cervical cancer.
But when we start seeing lots of cancers in a family, it's a red flag to us that we need to, have some further testing, and genetic testing is a great way to find out, is there something bigger going on?
Tammy started seeing Intermountain Health family care provider Jody Gilligan, who recommended Tammy an in-depth genetic test for Lynch syndrome.
It's hard to share our personal medical history. We want to maybe not tell everybody everything, but I think it's important for the next generations for them to know.
Because of Lynch syndrome, Tammy could be diagnosed with another form of cancer in the future. But what concerns her the most? Her children.
I am sad that that's something that I passed on to them, but at the same time I'm happy that they have been tested so that they can take control of their future health.
It's why Jody and Tammy agree early screenings and detections is so important.
I can't tell you how often doing preventative screenings we find cancers, and we save people every day by getting those and catching them early.
In Lockwood, Matt Carmack, MTN News.
Here's a live shot from Miles City. You see the clouds and obviously where the rain showers have been falling. Only at 57 degrees right now, 96% relative humidity. That gets to be a theme. We were trying to find Livingston with our Bozeman Pass camera. Not much luck there. Visibility extremely poor. Keep that in mind, where we're looking at wind gusts up to 38 miles per hour and the temperatures are in the 50s. And moving over towards Billings. Okay, try to find the airport out there. The visibility down to around a mile in the Billings area right now. 55 degrees, 96% relative humidity. Not only poor visibility, but also a gusty wind up to about 23 miles per hour. Regionally, we have some thunderstorms starting to move in off the Beartooth foothills around Red Lodge, for you down around Cody, up around Bridger. We'll continue to watch a few storms that could create some gusty winds and even some small hail throughout the evening hours, and pockets of heavy rain possible. We've got a lot of weather to talk about coming up in just a few minutes from now.
Gas prices in Montana are climbing this week, outpacing the national average. The state average is now $3.26 a gallon, 11 cents higher than the national average at $3.15. That's up 5 cents from a month ago, but still well below last year's prices. In Billings, drivers are seeing a slight break with an average of $3.19 a gallon, down 2 cents from last week. The highest statewide average on record was set in June of 2022 at $4.90 a gallon. In northwest Montana, a mountain biker's quick thinking helped avoid a bear attack. Wildlife leaders say the biker was alone on the Starry Goat Trail near Troy when the bear approached. The rider jumped off, pulled out the bear spray, discharged it as the bear came close. The animal retreated into the woods and the biker left unharmed. FWP believes it was a grizzly. The trail remains open, but officials urge caution due to bear activity. President Donald Trump is in Pittsburgh today, announcing new investments in the state's energy and artificial intelligence sectors. But on the international front, the president's latest deadline for Russia to reach a ceasefire deal with Ukraine is getting mixed reviews, even in his own party. Erica Brown has the latest from Capitol Hill.
President Trump arrived in Pittsburgh Tuesday afternoon for an energy and innovation summit, unveiling a $90 billion private sector investment in Pennsylvania to expand its energy and AI capabilities.
Today's commitments are ensuring that the future is going to be designed, built, and made right here in Pennsylvania and right here in Pittsburgh, and I have to say right here in the United States of America.
Before he left, the president discussed his new ultimatum for Russia if a peace deal to end the war with Ukraine is not reached within the next 7 weeks. The president has threatened to impose 100% tariffs on countries that buy oil and gas from Russia, including China and Brazil.
Well, at the end of 50 days, if we don't have a deal, it's going to be too bad.
The president also pushed back against a report that he privately encouraged Ukraine to step up strikes launched in Russian territory, allegedly asking President Volodymyr Zelensky if Ukraine could hit Moscow.
No, he shouldn't target Moscow.
The president's ultimatum is being met with some skepticism from his own party, with some Republican senators concerned about how both Russian President Vladimir Putin and China will respond.
The 50-day delay worries me, and that Putin would try to use the 50 days to win the war.
You have a 30% tariff, and then you add to it a 100% tariff. What do you think that means? No trade with China.
Russia rejected President Trump's ultimatum, calling it unacceptable, pushing for continued negotiations instead, and said its invasion will continue until Moscow achieves its goals. Erica Brown, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The Port of Los Angeles saw a record cargo surge in June as importers raced to beat new tariffs. Volume jumped 32% from May, with businesses rushing to bring goods in before the July 9th tariff pause expired. Now, with an August 1st deadline looming, retailers are stocking up early, especially ahead of the holidays. But port officials warn volume could plunge in August as companies pull back on orders to avoid higher costs. President Donald Trump receives a major victory from the Supreme Court, paving the way for 1,400 people at the Department of Ed to lose their jobs. A lower court judge previously said the cuts would likely cripple the department. Joe St. George has more on what it means for the department now moving forward.
The Supreme Court just handed President Trump another victory, this time involving his plan to downsize the Department of Education. So what does that mean for your child's education? For one, the ruling from the Supreme Court does not outright eliminate the Department of Education. Only Congress can do that. However, because the department has historically been the smallest cabinet agency with only around 4,000 employees, a cut of around 1,400 staffers could hamper tasks still handled by the department. In a statement, Education Secretary Linda McMahon said, "Today the Supreme Court again confirmed the obvious. The President of the United States, as the head of the executive branch, has the ultimate authority to make decisions about staffing levels, administrative organization, and day-to-day operations of federal agencies." President Trump, for his part, writing on Truth Social, "The United States Supreme Court has handed a major victory to parents and students across the country by declaring the Trump administration may proceed on returning the functions of the Department of Education back to the states." The Supreme Court ruling is the most recent ruling giving authority to President Trump to downsize the federal government as he wishes. Last week, the High Court signed off on a separate request to downsize other agencies. Democracy Forward, a group that opposes President Trump's efforts, says the U.S. Supreme Court today delivered a significant blow to public education in America, effectively allowing President Trump's attempt to dismantle the U.S. Department of Education to proceed while a case challenging the unlawful cuts is considered. As for what is next for the department, the expectation is the Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, will work to shift some current responsibilities of the department to other cabinet agencies. Meanwhile, a coalition of 24 states sued the Department of Education on Monday over $6.8 billion in funding that the Trump administration has recently withheld, money that helps schools pay for programs like after-school care.
If this latest federal action goes unchecked, our students, our families, our schools, and our communities will absolutely suffer.
Joe St. George, Scripps News Group, Washington.